Now you're definitely going to be using a lot of apps on both devices, but you're also going to be using the internet. So on the Kindle Fire, you have the Silk web browser, which is actually Amazon's proprietary web browser. And what it does is it uses Amazon's backend to try and predict what you might click on next and load it up on the backend on Amazon servers, and it's supposedly going to make it quicker for you. On the Apple iPad 2, you have Mobile Safari here, which in iOS 5 has gotten some upgrades. So let's launch the web browser on both of these devices and try and do it at the same time here. And it looked like the iPad 2 was a little bit quicker. Over here you have a list of bookmarks. That's what a blank page looks like. Over here a blank page is a blank page. So that's probably why this took a hair longer, because it was actually loading up content where this was not loading up anything. Now, as is customary on all browsers, you can add bookmarks to them. So you can add bookmarks to both of these devices here. One thing that's new on iOS 5 is tabbed browsing, and that's a welcome addition because going in and out of web pages is not an ideal way to surf the internet. This device here has tabbed browsing already, and pretty much all Android tablets have tabbed browsing. So that's to be expected that it's included on here. Now, my personal preference is this unified bar up here. I don't like the two separate fields, one for the URL and one for search. I just like the unified bar. You can type your URL in there, or you can put in a search item, a search term, and it'll bring up whatever. It'll know the difference. I've mentioned it in the past, but I think all web browsers should do away with the different fields here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look up a term on both devices and see what it brings up. Now, while I'm here, we're just going to compare the two keyboards here. Over here on the Amazon Kindle Fire, you have your regular keyboard here, pretty much all the same options that you have over here, except here you have a whole line of punctuation on the top here, which makes it a little bit easier that you don't have to go into a different menu. On the Apple iPad 2, you'd have to click on here to go into punctuation. Over here, it's all on top. Now, if you wanted to go into numbers, you'd have to do that over here and click on the number button. Personally, I prefer to have an extra row of numbers, which is something that the HP touchpad has. Unfortunately, no other device has it as of yet. Fortunately, though, you have a row of numbers on the top of the Kindle Fire on the top QWERTY line here. So if you wanted to put in a number, you would just long press that key and you could select the number on top of it. Now, one of the upgrades in iOS 5 is that you can change the keyboard up if you want. So if you want, you just grab this keyboard key and you can move the keyboard wherever you want. Now you noticed it's split there. If you don't want the split, you can bring it together. But you can actually move this keyboard wherever you want. So if you're more comfortable typing a little higher up than typing at the bottom of the tablet, you can do that. It's a pretty cool addition. And of course you can split the keypad, which works best if you're using it in landscape mode. The keyboard on the Kindle Fire is pretty much stationary and not very customizable. So let's look up a term on both devices. In the United States, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So we're going to look up Thanksgiving. And you have a go button here and you have a search button here. So we're going to try and click them both at the same time and see how fast the browser is on each device. It looked a little slower here on the Kindle Fire by a hair. Now the first thing you'll notice is that on Mobile Safari here you have your URL field and your search field, and that pretty much always stays at the top of the device no matter if you scroll up or down. Over here on the Kindle Fire browser, it just shows your tab up top, and then if you want to go to the URL or search field, you have to scroll all the way up. And there it is there. Or if you're further down on the page, all you have to do is touch on the tab and it brings the URL field down for you. It also brings up a slightly different Google search, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the first entry here, Thanksgiving on Wikipedia, and we're going to bring it up and see which device brings it up quicker. Okay. You have the mobile site over here, and you have the full site over here, so the mobile site, of course, was quicker. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to regular Wikipedia, and there we go. So we're pretty much on par with each other right here. Okay, so let's look up something on Wikipedia here that, now that we have them both on the regular website, and let's look up Pilgrim. All right, and let's try and hit these at the same time. Okay, Apple iPad 2 was quicker, followed up here by the Amazon Kindle Fire. Now, scrolling on the device, pretty responsive. And as is customary with an Apple device, you have that bounce when you go to the extreme top. On the Kindle Fire, it's just pretty much cut and dry. You go to the top, you go to the bottom, and that's it. Now, if you'll notice here on the Apple iPad 2, there's somewhat of an inertia when you scroll up. So it slows down the further it goes. The same is not true over here on the Kindle Fire. It'll just keep going until you stop it. Whereas over here, it goes little by little. Let's try the pinch to zoom now. Let's try and get it on an area where we have a picture, or at least some text so you can see it better. Pretty responsive on both devices. Now, to me, tabbed browsing is a must-have on a web browser, and both of these devices have it. To accomplish it, they both do it the same exact way. You have a plus icon on the upper right-hand corner of both browsers. Let's click on that. And there we go. Again, when you bring up a blank web page here, it brings up all of your bookmarks or your previously viewed web pages. Over here, it brings up a blank page. Now, the one thing I do like over here on the Apple iPad 2 is that you can move around your tabs. So the second tab here obviously has nothing on it right now, but if I wanted to bring it in the first position, all I would have to do is drag it over, and there we go. You can just swap them around. I like that. You cannot accomplish that on this device here. The tab is where it is. Now, if I had a whole host of tabs over here, let's bring out about 3 or 4 of them, you can scroll through them by swiping from side to side. You can't particularly rearrange them, though. Now, there's always been a lot of discussion about Flash. Steve Jobs hated Flash and didn't support it in any iOS device. Other people feel differently. They like Flash. Personally, I like Flash. It might slow down a mobile device, but I'd much rather have a device that can access 100% of the internet than have a device that can access 80% of the internet. So personally, even though Flash was recently discontinued for mobile, so I mean you can still use it on mobile devices, but they're not going to be updating the software. They're only going to be updating the security patches, but they're not going to be working on mobile Flash anymore. You can still get it, but there's not going to be any future development on it. Even though that's the case, I still want a device that can play Flash. Even if the performance isn't 100%, maybe the performance slips to 80%, I still want to be able to see something. For instance, if I go to YouTube here, I got the full YouTube page here, I got the mobile site here, let's go to the actual desktop version. I'm just going to look up my videos here. And hopefully this will serve as somewhat of a speed test because now, again, we're running desktop versions of YouTube on both devices. A little bit quicker over here on the Apple iPad 2, but that's because you have Flash here. So it really wasn't a fair comparison because you have Flash over here, and of course the Apple iPad 2 does not run Flash. So far, we only have one fair comparison between the two devices, and in that comparison, the Apple iPad 2 was quicker. We're going to give you 2 more, don't worry. But right now, I just want to show you the Flash performance performance on both devices, or at least the flash performance over here. Now my video is playing here, there's no video here. You have a YouTube app on the Apple iPad 2 if you want. You can actually look things up on it. Where is it? Right here. And you can play videos through that. But if you come across a site that has an embedded YouTube video in it, you're not going to be able to watch it on the Apple iPad 2. You'd have to actually look it up through the YouTube app. So for ease of use, I definitely prefer Flash. Now I'm just going to show you the performance here of Flash here. And this is actually the Apple iPad 2 unboxing video here. But the pinch to zoom works fairly well. And the video is still playing. Even though you can see that the video sometimes separates from the page, but you're not going to be pinching to zooming and trying to watch the thing at the same time. But it still plays, and you still can access the content. So you can see some of the motion there. It plays Flash. Okay, I promised you 2 more speed tests, so let's see. Let's look up another term here. Here in the United States, in the northern hemisphere, it's becoming more and more wintertime. It's actually still fall, but let's look up winter here. Okay, Apple iPad 2 was quicker than the Amazon Kindle Fire. Let's see, why don't we try out Winter Weather Dude and see how that works out. Let's see if we can do this simultaneously here. Very tight on that one. It looked like the Apple iPad 2 was a little bit quicker. Let's dive deeper into this website because this website actually looks like a good example of something I can use to compare the two because there's no flash on the web page and it's pretty basic. So let's see what we have here. Let's go to lyrics to song. Kindle Fire might have been a little bit quicker on that one. Let's hit the back button. Apple iPad 2 was quicker there. Let's go to this page here for spring. Apple iPad 2 was quicker. Let's try autumn. I have to zoom in on this one to make sure I click it correctly. Almost identical on that one. So it looks like the Apple iPad 2 is pretty much the same speed or a little bit quicker in certain instances when loading up web pages. But it's really nice to see that a $200 tablet can definitely hold its own with a $500 tablet. Now there are a couple of new bells and whistles on the Apple iPad 2 thanks to iOS 5. Some of those things I already showed you, such as the notifications and the adjustable keyboard. But another thing is gestures. Now I'm in a web page here. I could go to the home screen by clicking on the home button. But if I don't want to do that, I can actually just use my 5 fingers and grab this inward. So just pull it inward and I get rid of it. Back to the home screen. Kind of cool. Also, I can switch between apps. Now I showed you before you can multitask by double clicking on the home button down here. But it also can be accomplished. Let me go into something here. Let's see. Let's go into Engadget. And if you want, you can actually flip between different apps that you've had open just by taking 4 fingers and swiping from the side. So there's my web page, the autumn changes. There's another web page. There's Google Earth. There's DC Comics. And this was, I don't know, more DC Comics. That's VidRhythm. And that's a Roku remote, which I actually have a video up, or will have a video posted on that. I already filmed it, but that video will be up shortly. But it's a nice feature to be able to use gestures on this device. And it's a nice welcome addition.